You remember the MCU at its peak, right? The world was obsessed. Every movie felt like a global holiday. Fans camped out overnight, memes exploded on social media, and even people who had never touched a comic book knew the names Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. It was more than a franchise. It was a phenomenon, a cultural juggernaut. Then Endgame happened. The movie was supposed to be the ultimate crescendo, the emotional payoff for more than a decade of storytelling. And in many ways, it delivered. Tony Stark's sacrifice, Steve Rogers' farewell, Natasha Romanoff's tragic death. These moments were unforgettable. The audience cried, cheered, and debated every twist for months. But once the dust settled, something unexpected happened. The spark faded. The thrill diminished. The universe that once felt infinite suddenly seemed smaller, fragmented, and confusing. Casual viewers started dropping off. Fan excitement became more divided. And even hardcore Marvel fans began questioning whether the golden era of Marvel was truly over. So, what happened? How did the MCU, the crown jewel of modern blockbuster filmmaking, stumble so quickly? And more importantly, can Marvel rebuild its magic? Or is the post-Endgame era a long, slow decline in disguise? Let's unpack it. Endgame was the peak, but peaks have a downside. When it concluded, it left a vacuum, one that Marvel hasn't quite filled. The heroes that had carried the franchise for over a decade were gone. Iron Man was gone. Captain America was gone. Black Widow was gone. These weren't just actors or characters. They were the emotional anchor of the MCU. Without them, casual audiences felt lost. The attachment, the familiarity, the emotional investment, all of it disappeared. Marvel tried to fill the gap with new heroes like Shang-Chi, Ms. Marvel, and the Eternals. But the transition was rocky. Shang-Chi introduced a fresh perspective and dazzling martial arts sequences, but it didn't have the weight of an Iron Man sacrifice or the humor of a Thor adventure. Ms. Marvel offered a teen-led story full of heart and cultural exploration, yet its charm felt niche, and some viewers questioned whether it really felt like Marvel. Eternals dared to be different, grand, philosophical, and star-studded, but it struggled to connect with audiences emotionally, and its box office performance reflected that. Marvel's vacuum wasn't just about characters, it was about the narrative core. Who was supposed to lead this new era? What stakes mattered? The answers were unclear. The universe still dazzled visually, but without familiar emotional anchors, the stories felt weightless. And weightless stories struggle to make audiences care. Then came the content explosion. Marvel didn't just make movies anymore. They turned Disney Plus into an MCU machine. Shows like Loki, Moon Knight, WandaVision, and She-Hulk launched, promising to expand the universe and deepen character arcs. On paper, it sounded perfect. More stories, more characters, more adventures. But here's the problem. Audiences aren't machines. Casual viewers couldn't keep up. They didn't have the bandwidth to track multiple storylines across movies and shows simultaneously. Some series were brilliant. WandaVision innovated with storytelling, blending sitcom formats with trauma-driven narratives. Loki explored multiverse theory in ways that felt intellectually engaging, but many others felt disconnected or like setups for future films. She-Hulk, for instance, experimented with meta-humor and sitcom-style antics, which entertained some but alienated others. The result? Viewer fatigue. Following the MCU began to feel like homework. Stakes became diluted. When everything is connected, nothing feels urgent. Villains who die in a show might reappear in a movie. Heroes vanish for a season only to come back in a crossover. The momentum of the original MCU was lost in a web of cross-platform storytelling that demanded more effort than casual fans were willing to give. Phase 4 leaned heavily on new faces. Marvel needed Shang-Chi, Ms. Marvel, and Eternals to carry the torch. They were marketed as the next generation of heroes. But here's the harsh truth. They didn't capture the mainstream the way Iron Man, Thor, or Captain America did. Shang-Chi was praised for fight choreography and representation, yet the global fandom reaction was muted. Ms. Marvel experimented with humor and tone, but audiences were split on whether it felt like Marvel. Eternals had an ambitious, star-studded ensemble and explored cosmic-scale storytelling, but it failed to ignite passion in the fanbase and underperformed relative to expectations. Without leads who resonate, the MCU loses its emotional heartbeat. Characters like Tony Stark weren't just clever or strong, they were compelling, flawed, and relatable. Marvel's new characters had depth, yes, but they weren't universally compelling. And when audiences don't care about your protagonists, the universe struggles to feel urgent. It's the difference between following a hero you love and watching a story you're vaguely interested in. The former creates cultural phenomena. The latter creates passable movies. Marvel's formula was brilliant at first. Snarky humor, check. Pop songs in key action sequences, check. Misfit teams forced to work together, check. Flawed protagonist overcoming personal demons, absolutely. But the formula has limits. After over a decade, it's predictable. Marvel attempted to replicate the humor and tone of Guardians of the Galaxy across multiple films. Even when it didn't fit the story, it worked once or twice, but now it feels recycled. Jokes repeat, beats feel familiar, and audiences start to notice. Fans who once adored Marvel for its originality now see a corporate machine churning out familiar stories with different faces. That predictability is dangerous. Blockbusters thrive on excitement and surprise. Without those, even visually stunning films feel hollow. Marvel also tried bold experiments, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. WandaVision twisted sitcom conventions while exploring grief and trauma. Ms. Marvel tackled teen identity, culture, and modern social issues. Eternals explored morality, philosophy, and cosmic consequences. Creatively, these choices are admirable. They push boundaries, but from a mass appeal perspective, they divided audiences. Some viewers felt confused, excluded, or even alienated. Critics might celebrate innovation, but box office trends don't always follow critical approval. When a universe thrives on shared excitement, dividing the fan base is risky. Bold experimentation is lauded, but it only succeeds if it retains mass appeal. In Marvel's case, these risks sometimes created a fragmented audience, people excited to see something fresh, others longing for familiar faces and tones. And then came the multiverse. Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness promised infinite possibilities, alternate realities, and crossover chaos. Ambitious? Absolutely. Confusing? Also absolutely. For casual viewers, tracking timelines, alternate universes, and character crossovers quickly becomes overwhelming. Who exists in which universe? Why do events in one timeline affect another? The complexity can feel exciting for hardcore fans, but for the average viewer, it starts to feel like homework. Marvel thrives when audiences feel excitement and clarity. When confusion overtakes comprehension, even the biggest spectacles can alienate the casual audience. And the multiverse, while a creative goldmine, is a double-edged sword. Too soon, and interest starts slipping. So what is Marvel doing to fix things? Several strategies are underway, focusing on familiar faces. Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and a few other core heroes still draw audiences and keep the universe anchored. Big crossover events, hints of massive team-ups, like the upcoming Avengers Secret Wars, aim to recreate the excitement of the original ensemble films. Fresh creative leadership. New directors and writers are being brought in to breathe life into Phase 4 and 5, injecting fresh perspectives and styles. Story simplification. Marvel seems to be streamlining some plots, focusing on fewer concurrent storylines to avoid the content overload that fatigued viewers. The challenge, though, remains. Can these strategies recreate the emotional resonance that defined the MCU's golden age? Or is the post-Endgame slump a sign of deeper issues? Even with struggles, the MCU still delivers spectacle. Spider-Man, No Way Home shattered expectations, grossing over $1.9 billion worldwide. Doctor Strange 2, while divisive, exceeded $950 million globally. Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Ms. Marvel didn't match those heights, highlighting a growing trend. The MCU can still create blockbuster events, but consistency is slipping. Phase 4 and 5 showcase a clear pattern. Fan attachment to familiar heroes matters more than novelty alone. Big tentpole releases succeed when they feature recognizable faces or high-stakes crossovers. Films that lean solely on new characters without strong narrative hooks struggle to generate excitement. The fan base itself reflects this struggle. Hardcore Marvel fans continue to debate storylines, dissect Easter eggs, and support experimental projects. But casual viewers are disengaging. Social media discussions show division. Some celebrate Marvel's bold storytelling, while others lament the absence of the original heroes, formula fatigue, and multiverse confusion. Critics largely applaud experimentation and representation, but fan enthusiasm isn't universal. Marvel faces a delicate balance: innovate too cautiously and risk stagnation, innovate too aggressively and risk alienation. So what does all this mean? The MCU is struggling after Endgame because it lost its familiar emotional anchors, overexpanded its universe, introduced new leads that haven't fully resonated, leaned on a formula that's growing stale, and sometimes alienated fans with bold experiments. The multiverse added complexity but also confusion, creating a fractured audience. The golden era of Marvel wasn't just about superheroes. It was about storytelling that made audiences care. That emotional heartbeat is still missing in some ways. Phase 4 and 5 demonstrate ambition and spectacle, but the franchise is at a crossroads. Can Marvel recapture the magic? Will the next wave of movies and shows rekindle the universal excitement? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a long, slow decline? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Even the mightiest cinematic universe can stumble when the heart is lost.